Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Bewitched Bunny, and with me today to eat some waif waffles, moppet muffins, urchin pies, kitty kippers, children chops, and smorgasbord are my good friends Eli Copperman and Luke Perkins. Say hi.
Ben, my name is Hansel.
Yeah, Yahtzee is good.
We're not actually German, although we both have sweet teeth for anything sweet.
Just a few bits of info before we get underway. So, as mentioned, this is a review for Bewitched Bunny, released on the 24th of July 1954. It's the 716th of the series, and it's directed by Chuck Jones. You can find this beautiful restoration on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 5 DVD set and on the Looney Tunes Platinum Collection Volume 1 Blu-ray set. You won't find it on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves decide to upload it. It is a copyrighted cartoon. But in case you haven't seen this one, we see the beginnings of Hansel and Gretel with Bugs Bunny just walking along. He notices the children are in trouble. He thinks the Masked Avenger is going to save them, but since he ain't around, Bugs decides to help him. But sure enough, the children are rescued, and now Witch Hazel decides, you know what, I'm going to eat Bugs Bunny himself. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. A lot of people have seen this one. A few bits of trivia for this one as well. Yeah, first appearance of Witch Hazel in a Looney Tunes short. So she'll make a few appearances. So two by Chuck Jones, this one and Broomstick Bunny. Abe Levitot directed A Witch's Tangled Hair. Jones directed Transylvania 65000, where she had a very brief cameo in one moment. And in The Greatest Short of All Time, A Haunting We Will Go by Bob McKimson. We all love that one. It does feature the greatest Looney Tunes character of all time, which is Daffy's nephew. So, you know, I can't wait to get to that one for sure.
Forgot about him completely.
And the name itself, Witch Hazel, it's actually a skin cleaning product as well. It's actually called Witch Hazel. So that's, of course, a play on that. Yeah, yeah. So if you look up Witch Hazel, it's a real product that apparently is really good for your skin or something. So any healthcare beauty YouTubers out there, if you're watching, yeah, let us know if Witch Hazel's any good. And with Witch Hazel, so Chuck Jones himself confirmed that he got the idea for Witch Hazel from the wonderful Donald Duck short Trick or Treat. I love that short, absolutely adore it. In that one, you have a witch, and the witch was voiced by June Foray.
Yeah.
He couldn't get June Foray to voice the witch here. Here it's by B. Benaderet. But the later entries had June Foray doing the voice, and it's one of the roles that she's synonymous with, along with Granny. Yeah. And Bea Benaderet also does the voice of Gretel here, and Mel Blake does all the other voices in here too. Moving on to the next bit of trivia. So you'll see that Witch Hazel reads a book of recipes. You'll see the name Endor, and that's referencing the Witch of Endor, and that's, I believe, from the first book of Samuel at some point. I'm not as familiar with that, but as I looked up Endor, and aside from all the Star Wars references, of course, it's actually a reference to the Witch of Endor. So there you are. Now, Hansel and Gretel, a lot of you guys may not be aware of the fairy tale here, but those that don't actually know, it's a story by the Brothers Grimm. And so it's about the siblings Hansel and Gretel who are abandoned in a forest, and they fall into the hands of a witch who lives in a gingerbread cake and candy house, which is making me very hungry right now. But anyway, so the evil witch plans to fatten the children before eating them, but Gretel outwits and kills her. So yes, the Brothers Grimm fairy tales were quite gruesome, okay, before a lot of them were Disney-fied later on. But it's a German fairy tale, so it makes sense as to why the Germans speak with those German accents. Yeah.
And
indeed.
With that in mind, for all we know, maybe the cartoon does take place in Germany, but there is one character who will appear later on who has an American-sounding accent. But we'll get to him when we get to him. But even at that, considering that their names are Hansel and Gretel and they sound German, you might as well just happen to have a Brooklynite rabbit in the setting and the two German children who, let's just say, love candy a lot.
This short, so I first saw this one on the 1001 Rabbit Tales compilation movie, which, you know, some have called those compilation movies lazy. I think that they're actually great ways to introduce a new generation to these shorts, because it actually made me a fan and to seek out the other stuff. But I never actually saw the full short until I got the Golden Collection Volume 5, funnily enough. But I like this one. It's a really good one.
I discovered this short, along with some others, in a much more different way than what others usually do, because I only had one Looney Tunes DVD growing up, And I was getting genuinely curious about all these cartoons around 2019. Eli, you kind of remember this, but I was only able to view some of them through commentaries on YouTube through other people. But the ones that weren't on YouTube, I found through Dailymotion. And Bewitched Bunny had a commentary by Eric Goldberg that was available on Dailymotion, and that's how I discovered the short there. It sounds like a weird way to discover watching a Looney Tunes short for the first time, but it's kind of the way that actually gets me interested, even though like it should be the other way around.
I think I actually first saw Bewitched Bunny way back in the day when I was very little and YouTube was fresh and new. Because way back then, like during the first few years of YouTube, nobody really understood the copyright system. So people used to upload these cartoons to YouTube a lot, which I think they were probably just TV prints on Cartoon Network or something like that. But Bewitched Bunny was one of them. And I do vaguely remember it. But then when I was about 10, I want to say, I got a DVD copy. It was a double feature of the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner movie and 1001 Rabbit Tales. And in 1001 Rabbit Tales, the Bewitched Bunny was on there. What's interesting is, I guess without spoiling too much, when the cartoon is actually shown in that movie, the last maybe minute and a half, I want to say, are not shown to make way for the rest of the shorts and add into the pacing. So I remember when I watched the full cartoon on its own after a while, the ending actually felt a little jarring to me. Not so much because of the pacing, but because Bugs and Witch Hazel looked weirdly off model compared to the rest of the animation I saw.
I reckon we take a look at this short from start to finish and go through some of our observations on it, starting with the opening titles. I love what Carl Starling does here. So when the title appears, you hear the spooky music for a few brief moments, and then it just cuts to the traditional What's Up Doc. I love that touch. I don't know, something about it just worked really well. It was really
It's
good.
a way to remind us, the audience, that you're going to be watching a Looney Tunes short, just one with a bit of a spooky twist to it.
I love it whenever the composers would always like do little twists here and there in the titles. Make sure you know that like, oh, this Looney Tunes short is probably going to hit a little different from your typical ones.
Oh, of course. I mean, as far as spooky openings go, they tended to do this in a few Bugs Bunny cartoons that were horror themed.
Exactly. But speaking of music,
Yeah.
listen to the music that plays when Bugs is walking.
And the nasty old witch planned to fatten the little boy and girl and throw them into the hot oven for her supper. Why, that dirty old...
It's what we like to call that Starling cue, or at least it's a slight variation on it. You hear it just about everywhere. You hear it in Wild Hair, and I don't know, Starling seems to love using that cue.
I think it's a neat theme to use for Bugs Bunny. I think it's actually a very neat theme.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's fine. It does the job, but it's just interesting when you watch all these shorts, like in my case, in order, you begin to notice some patterns, and sure enough, Starling seems to like to use that. But I think we can all agree that the other highlight here, and most people say this when it comes to this short, even if they don't enjoy it for whatever crazy reason, are the backgrounds, designed by
Yes.
Noble and painted by Degard. So amazing stuff.
It feels like a children's book, too.
And it's interesting, we're at a point in time where you've got a 40s design character, Bugs, in a 50s world where everything else is 1950s aesthetic.
I love the backgrounds and how it takes something very simple, like a simple mid-century design looking like fairy tale setting, and then it just goes completely, it goes up to 11 when you go inside the witch's house, where it looks like a house that wouldn't feel out of place out of a crazier version of Alice in Wonderland.
It kind of shows that at this point, Chuck Jones, Maurice Noble, Philip Degard, and everyone else who was working in his unit was definitely moving forward in terms of newer graphic art styles. And I'm all for it, especially in this short.
The thinking here is we don't have to make things literal. We can just make things suggested. Like, you got crazy things like shelves are painted on the wall, which makes no sense, or doors that are just like maybe 1 millimeter thick, and a dead fish for crying out loud.
Oh, I was going to say that there's one shot that always stuck with me. And it's also during the sequence where Witch Hazel is poisoning the carrot for Bugs, and Bugs is peeking through and trying to see what's going on. He goes for this hole that has a painting of a fishbowl, and it looks so
Yeah.
cool to me.
I was actually going to mention audiences aren't really going to pick up on that too much. They're mainly going to focus on the animated characters since they're the center stage. So if they notice that stuff, I think they'll probably catch more on second viewings.
So, of course, Bugs is reading a book, he's walking along, and he's noticing the witch and the children. I love the designs of the children, by the way. I don't know,
Yeah.
something about them.
They remind me of those corduroy designs from the 50s and 60s.
And the animation, too, the whole skipping. I think Ken Harris does that skipping animation.
He did that animation.
Bacon hard-boiled all-day suckers.
That's good, ja.
Ja, ist gut.
Und schief ist und wisst bei.
Ja, Chibi.
Wie go, ja?
Ja,
Wie go? Wie go?
Come, kiddies. Let's go eat the goodies, the goodies, the goodies. Let's go eat the goodies. La-ta-ta-ta-ta.
One of my favorite jokes in this one, like I mentioned in the synopsis, where Bugs is like, this looks like a job for the Masked Avenger. Just so dramatic. But since he isn't around, I'll do it myself.
This looks like a job for the Masked Avenger. But since he ain't around, I guess I'll have to take care of it myself.
I love that line. It just gets me.
Yeah.
I don't think that was in the 1001 Rabbit Tales. I don't remember seeing that bit. I think
No,
cut.
it wasn't.
Yeah. So it took me off guard when I finally saw the short of
I love that line because I feel like it's something that we think like, oh, this looks like a job for someone who's suited for this job. But since they aren't around, I'll just do it myself.
We enter the house, of course, we see some shots in there, and as you said, Luke, and rightfully so, it goes from semi-realism-ish kind of thing from the outside, where it's like a forest type setting, to this really bizarre, like, the home looks very small from the outside, but inside looks like it's huge. It's got all these rooms and stuff. It's really cool. I like the design of it, the layouts. It's amazing.
Yeah. And then we have one of my favorite scenes in the cartoon when Hansel and Gretel are eating that giant tub of ice cream, and they're both saying, "Oh yeah, this is good. Yeah, it's good. It's yummy, yummy."
And you hear like the little slurping sound effects.
Keeps on going even after the scene cuts away from them. It's just the little details.
It's good, ja. Oh, ja, it's good.
Ja, ja, ist gut. Und yummy.
Oh, ja. Und yummy, ja.
But I honestly wonder if those lines were somewhat improvised by Noah Blanc and Benaderet. I have to imagine some form of ad-libbing and improvisation was encouraged in the vocal booth.
The thing is, every time I saw that scene as a kid, I'd, of course, always want ice cream.
I am getting
Yeah.
ice cream tonight.
Well,
Go
actually.
for it.
Yeah.
Go for it, dude.
I'm on a diet, so I can't really have much ice cream. But anyway, you know, it is what it is.
Aw.
So, of course, we hear a knock at the door. Now, one little bit that I don't think many people have noticed is look at the animation of Witch Hazel when she's at the door and she's like, "What could I do for you?" Look at the animation of the hands. It's subtle.
Yeah.
Technically, you didn't need to do that, but it just works.
It's something that Milt Cole would have done because he loved animating the hands.
And the swaggle
characters.
with the neck as well. He liked to do that just to show off,
I
apparently.
wonder if that was secondary
Yeah.
action. Like, okay, I feel like only animation nerds are gonna care what I say here, but I honestly wonder if the animator like mainly animated Hazel speaking, like her head and lips and body movements, and the hands were secondary action, so they could have the more straight ahead fun after they took care of the main lip movements.
Yeah.
It's just the little details that make these characters so much fun.
But also, truant officers, I don't even know if we even had those here, but just for people who aren't aware, back in the day, I don't know if they still have them today. Let us know in the comments if where you live, they still have truant officers. But essentially, yeah, if kids skip out in school, the truant officer would try and track the kids down and say, "Hey, why aren't you in school?" And I am simplifying it, but yeah. So Bugs, as the truant officer, enters, and of course, he already knows the kids are in there. It's like, "Aren't you ashamed? Roasting children. Call it a weakness." That delivery kills me. I just love that.
Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Roasting children.
Call it a weakness.
So there's one bit that confuses a lot of people as to what's this referencing to, and I don't think anyone has a definitive answer, and unfortunately I don't either. But the whole Hansel, I think part of it is the pronunciation of Hansel. So I think based on the American accent, people in certain parts of the country might read it as Hansel instead of Hansel. So some adaptations of Hansel and Gretel might cause confusion, like why is it Hansel? That's all I can think of. That there must have been something to do with the American pronunciation of the name versus what it actually should be pronounced, which is Hansel. That's all I can think of.
And pray, what are your names, my poor children?
My name is Gretel.
And my name is Hansel. Hansel? Hansel? Hansel?
I always thought the Hansel bit was like, I thought it was the bit where Bugs Bunny is going like, wait a minute, they had the same names as the book I was reading. I thought that was the bit, but no, it's just Hansel specifically. It's a funny bit though.
Yeah, maybe Bugs was just maybe a little thrown off by how Hansel said it.
Bugs, as the truant officer, warns the children, it's like, run, she's going to eat you for supper. So they run off and they use the put down, which I hope makes a comeback, which is, your mother rides a vacuum cleaner. Like, I think we need to bring that back into the vernacular.
Your father works in a pickle
Yeah.
factory.
Yeah, we need to bring that back more.
I thought.
And your brother eats jelly beans.
So the kids run off, never to be seen for the rest of the short, and Bugs could have just left, but no, he gets out of his disguise too early, and Witch Hazel's like, aha, I know, rabbit stew.
We all know Bugs is super confident, but maybe in this case he was confident to the point of being a little cocky or something, and then he got his just desserts. But he even says, me and my general impulses.
Yeah, and he even says, what's up, doctress, instead of what's up, doc. A nice little variation.
Yeah. What's up, doctress? Me and my generous impulses.
But we see the broom, which is like a dog. I think it's great. And also, I like how they had a touch of Witch Hazel breaking the fourth wall all the time. It's like, notice how I ride side saddle, etc., etc. Just,
It proves I'm a lady of quality.
yeah. And,
Modesty is one of my girlish qualities.
and in a 6-minute short, you can only do so much personality-wise, and
Oops.
it's the little details like that that just make it plussed, if you will.
Notice how I ride side saddle. It proves I'm a lady of quality.
But if you look at this scene where she's chasing after Bugs and of course the broom breaks in half of that, look at some of the shots of Witch Hazel. Some of the face shots are really weird. Like her face, it almost disappears in one shot.
It's an interesting transition.
didn't see
I'm sure
that.
they wanted to do stuff that was a little outside of their comfort zone artistically, and they were definitely delivering around this time.
After Witch Hazel gets on her broom and flies off, I only noticed the push pins that are a second late.
Yeah. So Jones started that in Bully for Bugs, where the bull would run off and you see the hooves behind. So he started that trend back then. So unfortunately, Eric Goldberg was incorrect in his commentary when he mentioned that this is the first time he did that, when it was actually then. But that's okay. We love Eric, so it's okay. I'm not going to blame him for that one. It's a great commentary, by the way. So if you guys do have those sets, definitely give him a listen to. He's always a treat to listen to anything he does. But I like how the broom's like a dog. So it's like, yipe, yipe, yipe. Just so stupid, but I love that. And she makes a good point. You know, what's the use of being a witch if you can't use witchcraft?
Well, what's the use of being a witch if you don't use witchcraft, huh?
I feel like the hit critic pointed this out, that when we get to that part, like, it feels like one of Bugs Bunny's villains actually decided to poison a carrot.
Yeah.
They have done creative things with carrots, like traps or lures, but in this case, she actually poisoned Bugs, which, I mean, if it's going to be a first time for everything, it might as well be a witch.
But you do have to wonder, okay, so she's spending all this time cooking the poison, whatever. Why doesn't Bugs just escape? Oh, look, it's not a big deal, but I just thought it was funny. It's like she's cooking and everything,
Yeah.
you know, the whole time while she's cooking. Why didn't he just leave and run off? But anyway, it's pretty funny anyway.
Maybe Bugs got stuck inside that weird fish bowl that had a little hole
Maybe.
inside it.
Oh, we get to the bit which I absolutely adore, which is Bugs acting like a child. Yeah, I get to lick the pot.
I get to lick the pot. I get to lick the pot.
That scene kills me.
I love the delivery of that. And Ken Harris animated the bit with Bugs acting like a child and clapping his hands. Ken Harris had this nice, graceful movement to that scene. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, before Bugs appears, when you see Witch Hazel doing the boil and roll it in, you see a little salt shaker on the left background. And in that salt shaker, it just says, nice.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
I've heard delivery. I never saw such a hungry rabbit. And that pause, that perfect pause, and then it laughs.
For sakes, I never saw such a hungry rabbit.
So good.
I love those pauses. I don't entirely know what Chuck was thinking with his layout poses and delivering that.
I love the one in Broomstick Bunny, which we'll get to later, where it's like, it's sharp to split the hair. Pauses. Split their hair.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
My
that.
favorite one has to be, it is in this one though, it's like how she's like, mother. It's like, mother will get your bed ready and just mother. It just starts laughing because how stupid it is. I absolutely adore that.
Now you eat the nice carrot all up, and Mother will get your bed ready. Mother.
Oh, and speaking of which, we then get to one of my favorite lines in the cartoon, which I never understood entirely what she said until the glory of subtitles were a thing. But she basically says,
Rabbit in the hot oven, into my mouth for dinner I'm shoving.
I don't know why, but that gets me every
Yeah.
time.
Rock-a-bye rabbit in the hot oven, into my mouth for dinner I'm shoving.
So we get some great animation of Bugs being poisoned. It's like, wait a minute, I got one more left. And just, yeah, he collapses.
That's just Chuck Jones showing off his ability to make people laugh with like the subtlest of facial expressions.
Exactly.
Not only the subtlest of facial expressions, but the timing. It's like,
Wait a minute, can't you? I got one left.
2 seconds worth of an eye blink, and then he is dead.
So she goes under for what is it, some relish or whatever it is she's going for, and we see the prince from the wrong fairy tale, I'm assuming. But one detail that always got to me as a kid is, look at that sword. It's just a line. What kind of a sword is this?
It's stylization, baby. Just go with
Oh,
it.
exactly. It's great. And we get another follow-up of the whole thing where Bugs mentions that, sorry, you're in the wrong story, but this is Hansel and Gretel. And he's like, Hansel? Hansel? And he's all confused again.
Also, normally there'd be like at least a rule of 3 with this kind of running joke, but instead they just bring it up one more time and then don't mention it again. I like that. It makes the prince's reaction all the more funny. Like after he revives Bugs and he says like,
Yeah, no, sorry, Doc. This is the story of Hansel and Gretel.
and the prince is just left confused.
Yep.
For that, but you're looking for Snow White. Here's the story of Hansel and Gretel. Hansel? 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 Hansel?
I love that horse design.
Oh yeah.
And it just stands there the whole time. It's like, whatever. Okay. We get to the finale where I love the layout of when Bugs ends up in that one room where it's like a dead end. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Such a great
It's
layout.
very abstract and the diagonal.
But look at that shot. Look at the very bottom. There's like this brown line on the bottom. And I wonder if they shot it slightly incorrect because if there's a brown line on the bottom. I don't know what happened there. But anyway.
Even if that's the case, it doesn't really matter because one, you're barely going to notice. And even if you do, it kind of adds in to the abstraction.
Yeah. Oh, it makes a short 0 out of 10, of course.
I hope someone got fired for that blunder.
Just an observation, nothing more. But we get to the point where we get the intense music playing, Hazel getting closer, and then Bugs uses the magic powder and turns Hazel into an attractive bunny. And of course, we hear it had to be you, because what else is Carl Starling gonna do in that scene?
Either that or you big, beautiful doll, or it must have been a beautiful baby. And thank God they didn't do either.
Hello?
Hello?
When you see Witch Hazel running, it still looks like the house of all that sort of stuff with the weird abstract images. But when she explodes and turns into the pinup bunny, you'll see that she is centered with a heart around it, and there are grassy flowers around it too.
I love the love heart design. It's just invoking the mood as opposed to reality, which is great. And yeah, the one controversial bit at the end is like, sure, but aren't they all witches inside? Which some have seen as a misogynistic type comment. I'll let you guys be the
Yeah.
judge of that.
Yeah, going my way?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, sure, I know. But aren't they all witches inside?
Me and Luke last year, we actually watched Bugs Bunny's Halloween, and that special actually wraps up with this ending. And thankfully, the line's different, but it's basically Bugs saying something along the lines of, "Yeah, sure, I know, but anything can happen on Halloween." But interestingly enough, something even weirder happens in that special. After that, we have new animation with Bugs and the female rabbit, this time voiced by June Foray, drinking from the cauldron. And we have that famous 10 out of 10 drawing of Bugs Bunny going, needs salt. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
I love that drawing. I love how stupid it looks.
I will say, this is a great cartoon to start off the Halloween season. That and Broomstick Bunny. And, not only does it have some great laughs courtesy of Michael Maltese's writing, Chuck Jones's humorous direction, but it also has some very solid animation from Ken Harris, Ben Washam, Roy Vaughn, and maybe others who I can't think of, and also some great design work from Maurice Noble and Phil DeGard. And in addition, Carl Stalling is once again, even as he's getting older, he's still at his A game, making some great tunes and some great timing and everything. But yeah, beyond that, I think it's a really solid cartoon. I don't have much else to say.
Outside of the outdated ending, you took the words right out of my mouth, EC. I really like the cartoon. It's a great way to start the Halloween season. There's some great animation and layouts and backgrounds in that one. I love Witch Hazel is a fun villain. There's some great jokes. It's a great cartoon. 8 out of 10, I would say.
I give it an 8 out of 10 too. It's definitely closer to a 9.
I was going to rate this one like a 9 out of 10 because nostalgia does play part of it because I used to watch the 1001 Rabbit Tales all the time and I adore this one. And yeah, it was fun revisiting this one and the wonderful recipe book that you see. I'm getting kind of hungry, so what do you think I should eat? Some urchin pie or moppet muffins topped with pickled tarantula elbows and worm sweat residue.
Those actually sound appetizing.
But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, take care.
Good afternoon, Mother.
Sure, I know. But aren't they all witches inside?